Start small and start testing. A lot of people, once they actually start doing, realize I don't actually like this idea as much as I thought. And that's so totally okay. We just want people to learn that. So I think that's one big piece of advice that I would definitely give to anyone starting out.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, disruptors, and creators who are making things happen today. My name is Michael T. Johnson, and I'm here with my co-host Tyler Kelly, and we are in beautiful and sunny Miami today. We're at Venture Cafe Miami, and if you don't know about Venture Cafe, you need to know about Venture Cafe. So Venture Cafe is the largest gathering of entrepreneurs, disruptors, innovators anywhere in the world. So every Thursday night, they've got a gathering happening all over the world. So if you're near Venture Cafe City, you need to check it out. But today, I'm very excited because we have Luisa Santos with us. And if you're a fan of ice cream, you're going to like this episode.
Well, I'm a fan of ice cream.
Who isn't?
Louisa, welcome.
Thank you.
So Louisa founded Lulu's Nitrogen Ice Cream here in Miami. She's lived here since she was about 8 years old by way of the country of Colombia, and attended Miami-Dade College, the honors college there, and then went on to Georgetown University. And at some point at Georgetown, you discovered liquid nitrogen, and voila, this nitrogen ice cream is born.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
This was definitely not what I planned as my career. But I was actually studying political economy, minoring in education, thought I might work at the UN or something.
Wow.
But like you said, I stumbled upon this thing. Really, my sister called me and told me about this. Now I know that the first person to do this was a scientist in 1901.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been around for a bit, but I found out about it in 2013 and really was just captivated by this idea of, what do you mean you can freeze ice cream in seconds? And, what is this cloud of smoke that comes around it? The first thing I did obviously was YouTube, right?
Uh-huh.
How does this work? And so, yeah, after being completely captivated by the idea, I can tell you more about how I actually got to making my first batch of ice cream. But after making it, long story short, now we have.
Well, it's it's probably an interesting story because do you just go buy? Where do you buy liquid nitrogen before you have a shop, right?
So that's exactly the question I asked myself, sitting in my dorm room, and I was Googling use this for liquid nitrogen, trying to get some clues, and found out that welding shops use liquid nitrogen.
Wow.
So I called a few welding shops, and obviously they were like, "You're crazy. We're not going to sell nitrogen to you." But I said, "But who do you buy it from?" And so they told me the cryogenics gas suppliers in the area. And I kept getting, nowhere because they were like, "What's your business? Are you a welding shop?" I was like, "No, I'm a student." And so finally I used my work phone at Georgetown University. They now know this and they're proud of me all these years later, but really pretended to order for Georgetown.
Okay.
Because I was lucky enough that I lived across from the main gates. And so when the driver got there and it was too late to turn around, I was like, "Hey, instead of to the left, it's to the right." And then, got my first tank.
Wow. That's an awesome story.
Yeah, that's great. So I will have to admit, I've experimented with this idea, but not with liquid nitrogen. So the little air duster things you get, and if you turn them upside down, stuff comes out and freezes it.
Oh, yeah.
But that has a bittering agent in it, so don't eat whatever. It tastes disgusting. So they don't
not this.
They don't
This
want people
is
messing with that. But I also have had the liquid nitrogen ice cream, and I think it kind of opens up this whole different creative possibility with ice cream and other things you can freeze and eat.
Yeah, you can definitely experiment a lot, but at the shop we keep it just with the ice cream. We don't do, that's for after hours.
So tell us about this is your first business, I'm assuming, or
Yeah.
So tell us about after you had this great ice cream epiphany.
Yeah, so I was a student, right? Yeah. So it was you could argue that I had a kite business in the third grade where I was selling kites on the sidewalk. But this was the first real one. I started at senior year. I was a student really it started as like a fun project, and I took an entrepreneurship course where I then used it as my assignment for the semester. So I had a team of students working on it with me, and there what we were really doing was like getting a minimum viable product, right, to making sure that we could actually make good ice cream, and then testing our customer, like really learning who the customer was. And so that involved starting to set up at farmers markets and doing little stands, which means you're actually selling, and then it feels real because now you have customers that are paying for it. And eventually I entered some pitch competitions and won some cash through the university, and then was able to buy more equipment with that. And also, more importantly, keep in touch with the judges of those competitions, and which eventually led to securing investment from a few of them, which is actually what allowed me to then, as a really kid, go and open a full-fledged shop. Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. Like you're talking about entering contests and things like that, but it's not necessarily about winning that. It's about the connections you made that helped you get money for your business.
Yeah, money and advice, right? Like I had no clue what I was doing, and some of the people who I met, for example, were in the same space and were willing to share their numbers with me or share lessons learned. Especially once I decided that I was going to be coming back home to open here. It felt far away that we weren't direct competition. And so I was so surprised, and I tried to do this now that I have a few lessons learned myself, at how willing people are to share advice and mistakes to avoid. And so that's really, I think, the more valuable thing, more so than whatever the check was at the time.
Yeah. So what are some of those lessons that you learned that could be helpful to somebody who is starting or in the journey like you are? Yeah.
So I think one of the big things is, if you're starting anything, start small and start testing. The smaller it is, the more agile it is, and the more you can change. And so that's very important, right? Like, which we did a little bit of that with the farmers markets and testing kind of products, pricing, flavors, just even for us learning how to actually make the thing the best way, right? So starting small and starting cheap, because actually a lot of people, once they actually start doing, realize like maybe this is not for me, or I don't actually like this idea as much as I thought, or this idea sounded great, but doing the execution sucks. And that's so totally okay. We just want people to learn that before they add other people's money and pressures. And so I think that's one big piece of advice that I would definitely give to anyone starting out.
And you were part of Win Lab?
Yeah.
Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, Women Innovating Now, an accelerator out of Babson College, but now here in Miami. And it was wonderful. I got to meet a really solid group of women entrepreneurs, was connected to many more mentors and experts in different fields that... So at the time when I was going through Win Lab, I had opened a second shop on Miami Beach, and it wasn't going as expected. And so really had some people who spent so much time with me, really were invested in me as if almost they were like co-founders. I was so surprised they would sit for like 4 hours at a time working out, projections and what it would take and how to negotiate an early termination to a lease. And eventually was even connected to some of their partners who provided like pro bono services while I was in the program. And they were vital to getting me through that transition phase. And to this day, some of my friends, like when things are going wrong, the people I call who can actually understand what's happening are some of the other women who were in that program.
Wow.
Just because we're all in it, together figuring it out.
So Lulu's, where'd that name come from?
So originally, it's because it was a childhood nickname,
okay,
and I wanted Lulu's to embody a lot of the happiness and joy that comes with a child, right? But now more like this is a big deal. We adopted a cow at the farm where we get all the milk and cream for our ice cream, and her name is Lulu. And so
wow,
now it's really all about her.
So 100% of the milk and cream comes from the one cow?
No.
Okay, I was like... like,
We're
how's
on
that possible?
One farm.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Lulu lives at that farm.
Gotcha.
So Lulu and Friends
Okay.
provides the milk and the cream. And we have vegan options. So there's
Okay.
also coconut milk. I have not adopted a coconut, but you know, maybe that will come later.
That's awesome. I love coconut milk now. Like, I can't take my mind off of this ice cream.
Yeah, we're gonna have to try it. So I'm curious, as somebody who kind of grew up in Miami, I'm curious about kind of your take on the entrepreneurial scene in Miami and how it's changed and where it's going. Like, what's happening?
What's happening is we are entrepreneurs like by blood here, right? It is in our system to be testing things and hustling and grinding, and that's just who we are as a city, really. What's missing is how we kind of make that a little more official and scale up, right? And grow things to the next level. And so what's really exciting is, like, you guys are here, right? Like, this didn't exist 5 years ago. The space we're in didn't exist 5 years ago. And so I moved back from DC, where I thought, this was in 2013, there was a pretty strong entrepreneurship scene that was growing, ever so growing. But coming back here, I came back right at the beginning of, like, all these co-working spaces opening up, more accelerators coming in. And so we're building the infrastructure. I think we're not quite fully built, right? And like, our foundation isn't even fully built yet. There are a few pieces that are still the foundation's being laid out. But we have so many eager people who are doing the work to build that out, that it's really only a matter of time till it all kind of comes together. And I think one day we'll just be like, wow, look at what's here. I mean, I already feel that way, right? But I can recognize that we still have a long way to go. But now we have, so importantly, we have the anchor institutions. I think universities and colleges play a big role in entrepreneurship. And so we now have entrepreneurship initiative centers, departments at our big institutions. That's going to help kind of create the new generation, right? And then we're seeing more companies kind of maybe reaching more of that maturity that we need to plug that new generation into. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we're an early ecosystem, but we're eager to build it, and I think it's a matter of time.
It's exciting.
And fixing our transportation issues. Someone yesterday mentioned that to me, and I was like, you're so right. Like, people can't get connected, right? Like, I want to go to UM for an event, or I want to go to MDC, another campus, or whatever. It's hard to get around. Mm-hmm. And so that's like an interesting thing you don't think about. Like, public transportation is important to building an entrepreneurship ecosystem. So
this is true.
Yeah.
And parking, too.
Yeah, we've heard that a lot. Hopefully somebody listening will know
like,
that opportunity.
Who out there like can make these decisions? Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously ice cream is awesome. It's great. Everybody loves ice cream. But for you, like, what is it that's driving you? Like, because like I said, everybody loves ice cream, but that's probably not the thing that drives you.
No, absolutely. The thing that drives me is a few things, right? One, the people we get to impact with our business. That's our customers, right? Obviously, we get to bring that moment of joy when they eat our ice cream. They get to have a clean ice cream, right? We don't add preservatives, emulsifiers, stabilizers. We make it all in-house from scratch. So it is literally, I'm not saying low calorie because it's not, but it's clean, right? And so customers, we give them joy, right? But more importantly, our team, what we've been able, so we teach financial literacy as part of our employment program, and we're mostly employing high school and early college students, or maybe people who are out of high school but not in college. And so being able to see someone who is 18 open a Roth IRA and start contributing, when you know the power of compound interest, you know how meaningful that is, right, for that person, and how impactful that will be down the line, because they're getting in the habit, even if it's small amounts, of automatically contributing to it. That's going to change their lives, right? And so that drives me, the impact I can have on my team and on our customers and on our community, right? We all the time are hosting non-for-profits and other organizations at the shop for their events, or even contributing to, their events outside of the shop. So that's the big driver behind it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Where do you see Lulu's and yourself in 5 years, 10 years? What's the big vision?
So it is bringing the cleanest, highest quality ice cream. Like our number one thing is like we will never compromise on quality to as many people as possible, right? And so we'll see what form that takes. But the challenge there is keeping the quality and not compromising on that.
That's awesome. This has been fun.
Yeah, I really want to try this ice cream because good ice cream ruins mediocre ice cream.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you can't go back.
No, I have gone to places and thrown ice cream in the trash after a bite.
Yeah.
After eating like really good ice cream.
Really good ice cream. Yeah. So this one, I will warn you. Each scoop of our ice cream is almost like 3 scoops of like any other brand, let's say Haagen-Dazs, for example. Because we don't whip air into the ice cream, right? It's like 30 seconds and it's frozen. So it's extremely dense. So you'll feel the difference. It's like thicker and more smooth because the nitrogen freezes a smaller ice particle. So wait till you have this experience. I usually bring some with me, but I wasn't coming from the shop and I didn't want like a puddle of ice cream in the car.
Totally.
So.
Well, Louisa, thank you. This has been fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
So
where
fun.
can people find you? Where can they connect with you?
Definitely follow us on Instagram at Lulus_ice cream. Our website is lulus-icecream.com. And come to the shop to try it for yourself. It's on 20th and Biscayne.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
For more episodes, visit innovationcity.co and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. If you're in Miami, visit us at Venture Cafe on Thursday nights. You can find details at venturecafemiami.org and connect with us on social at WeAreSlam and Venture Cafe MIA.
This is where it all begins, so say